Hey friend, welcome to Self-Transformed, a podcast redefining self-care through simple fitness, nutrition, and mindset habits. I'm your host, Emily Nichols, certified personal trainer, Whole30 coach, and Taco Tuesday enthusiast. Hey, I know the struggle is real when it comes to taking care of you. I too am a busy working mom who felt physically and emotionally drained until I took action on my own transformation journey. I finally found the solutions to feeling confident and living a healthy lifestyle that doesn't feel hard, and now I'm on a mission to equip you with sustainable tools to help transform your life from the inside out, guilt-free. Together, we will simplify your health and fitness into daily habits that don't feel like another thing on your long to-do list, but daily actions that light you up instead. So if you're ready to redefine self-care and step into your own self-transformation, then let's do this. You're listening to episode 97 of Self-Transformed. Hey friend, I hope you had a wonderful long weekend. You probably noticed I didn't drop this episode on Monday because yesterday was Memorial Day, if I can talk. I hope you had a great long weekend. It was such a great kickoff to summer. Our kids are officially out of school, and I was just going through our calendar because our summers are very short. So my kids go back to school July 29th. So I was outlining all their camps and activities they have planned out. I'm like, man, this is a really quick turnaround. So I hope your summer is full of lots of adventures like ours will be. And most of all, ours will be just spent time with family and friends, which I'm most excited about. Hey, if you haven't already, make sure to come join my free Facebook community. There's a link in the show notes always. I'm going to start hosting monthly workshops to really take it to the next level for Self-Transformed and get you even more free resources to help you redefine self-care and take care of yourself through basic fitness, nutrition, and mindset habits. Habits being the key word. These are proven habit strategies to help you start taking action and making these habits stick for life. Okay, so make sure to tune in and go join the free Facebook group because they'll be the first to know over there in addition to my newsletter friends. And hey, if you want to hop on a habits hacking strategy call, there's always a link in the show notes for that where we can kind of go over your daily schedule and I can help you schedule in some tiny pockets of time where you're able to add in some new healthy habits to make these stick. So hey, let's get into today's episode. We haven't talked about being a working mom in a while, and I was so happy to connect with today's guest, Amanda Nachman, about how you are qualified. Just thinking about you are qualified and rethinking your career and setting boundaries as a working mom. I love being a working mom. I've talked about this before. I really enjoy my career. It was kind of an identity crisis when I had my first son and figuring out that fine act of balance, if there even is a word as such as balance, to trying to do it all and realizing I don't have to do it all. But we want to talk a little bit today about recognizing that you're qualified, setting aside some time to really evaluate who you are as a professional woman, who you are as a mom, and how we can intertwine those two and help you take your career to the next level if that is something you're interested in doing. You know, I'm going to be 40 this year. I've held a couple of different jobs in my life. I'm the type of person where the seasons of my life change, I'm like, let's change jobs. Whereas my husband, he has had the same job since college. And some people are just like that, and that's okay. I feel like I'm always on a path as the seasons of my life grow and what I want to do professionally and what I want to do to serve others ultimately in the health and wellness world. Obviously, what I do through Self-Transform You and all the other services I offer in the podcast, you know, that's a free service to be able to get you your own transformation and take action. But I was thinking about this as I was connecting with Amanda. You know, this wasn't the norm when I was graduating college, thinking about the balancing act of being a working mom and how my career may transition over time. You know, I went to college and majored in art history and added a business minor because I was like, well, I should probably do that because I don't know what I'm going to do with art history. I don't do anything with art history. I love art history. I love learning about process artists go through for, you know, creating a painting or a sculpture for that matter, but it's not a career field that was meant for me. And I think it's just, there's so many societal norms that we have to go to college, we have to major in this thing, we have to go to do this in our career. And I just want to change the way we think about that and give you a little perspective today, regardless of where you are in your career. So let me tell you a little bit about Amanda Nachman, our guest today on the show. She is the CEO of College Magazine. She's a TEDx speaker, and she's the best-selling author of Qualified. You are more impressive than you realize. I love that title. So she's also a keynote speaker. She's the host of Find Your Passion Career, and she's appeared on Good Morning America, ABC 10. She's been featured in Business Insider, NBC News, Today, and MarketWatch. And she really knows what's up. So as we are recovering from this pandemic, Amanda's message is really just more than powerful than ever. A lot of people had a lot of job shifts. I've known so many friends who have taken on new careers over this past year because they really reevaluated who they are and what they want their lifestyle to be. And Amanda's just overarching message is that you are qualified. You are qualified, friend. She relates to all of us who have ever felt unqualified to go after our dreams, and she helps young professionals create an intentional life with human interactions filled with caring and gratitude to really just create a sustainable world. I love that so much. So even if Amanda works with young professionals, we can all relate to this no matter what stage we are in our career. So grab a pen and paper, make sure you can take notes, and make sure you stick around to this end of the episode so you can hear my top takeaways from this conversation with Amanda. Let's go. All right, gang, thanks so much again for tuning in to Self-Transformed. I am really excited to dig into this conversation today with Amanda Nachman. Amanda, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. Okay. Well, first question I ask all my guests is, what does the phrase self-transformed mean to you?
To me, it means hitting the pause button on going through the motion, on autopilot, zombie mode that we all fall into, and really asking ourselves, what do we want? And how can we start going after it?
I love that. Getting off of zombie mode. Ooh, I'm gonna write that down. That's good. That's good. Very, very good. Well, Amanda, tell us a little bit about your own story, kind of what you have been through in your life to get you to who you are today and what you do today. Kind of what is the story of your life? I know that's a loaded question, but your overarching theme as far as where you are today and how you got there.
Yeah, well, I think that if I want to go back to that self-transformed moment, to me, it was, I was going through the motions of getting my degree and looking around me and seeing my peers go after these consulting jobs and thinking, that's what I want too, because that's what it seems like I should be going after. And it was that moment where I found myself going in this direction of wanting to create this magazine called College Magazine, and really getting a lot of joy from that experience of working with the writers, pitching ad space in the magazine to different local businesses and making this magazine happen, this whole creative process, and finding that this really sparked a lot of joy for me and realizing that this actually was my path, and taking that moment to identify that and realize, what do I really want to be doing? And so that's when I decided, hey, I want to find an investor for this project that I had started as a hobby business and leave my full-time job and, really create this magazine that would help students be successful in college. That was the vision. And I loved getting to help students, and not just get to help the students that were reading the magazine, but getting to work with the writers and helping them follow their dreams and pursue their passion to be professional journalists. And I've gotten to do that over the last 14 years.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. How do you feel like you knew what your calling was then at that point?
Getting to see the magazine in print. So this was back in 2007, like getting to see that in print and then handing it to students and watching them open it before my eyes was such a cool feeling. But really the biggest impact that I got to see firsthand was the impact it had on my writers, them getting to see their byline in print and getting to interview a dream source and go off into their dream careers at National Geographic, USA Today, NBC, Random House, And that to me has been, one of the greatest rewards. And it makes my day getting to see them pursue their passions.
That's so cool. No, it's probably something you weren't even expecting to happen until it happened. Like, wow, I really enjoy mentoring these kids and watching them flourish in their writing careers. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's what, the passion is what continued, which is what drove me to keep going, because following your passion, as anyone who's followed their passion will tell you, is not easy. And it's a bumpy path, and there are a lot of pivots that I had to take. College Magazine isn't in print anymore. It's online, and figuring out the digital world at age, 24, launching a site for the first time, building the site to reach millions of readers, was this big endeavor, and figuring out how to pitch ad campaigns to national advertisers. I mean, if I didn't have that passion, I don't know if I would have kept going and persisting through the no's, through the rejections, through the hard times, which there were plenty of. So there's so many surprises along the way, but the reward has been tremendous.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like everyone's career is just such a little, like if you almost saw like a treasure map, like you see them like going this way and like whoop, going this way and looping this way. And you got to go over like this alligator lagoon to get over to this place. And once you find the buried treasure, maybe it wasn't what you expected. So you got to go find a new treasure map and go along that little path,
And when you're in college, you think, oh, it's just kind of like I graduate, I get my degree, and boom, I'm in this job that is my forever dream job. And that's how it works. And no one is really talking about the story of the rejection, the very real rejection that happens, or the moments where you do fail, right? The moments where I thought, I don't know if I'm going to raise enough money to print the next 10,000 copies of this magazine.
Right.
And that fear that is very real and happens. And, of course, people don't want to talk and dwell on those stories. But if you don't know that it's very real, that you're going to face career rejection, you are not going to be prepared for when it happens. And that's a big message in my book, Qualified, which is that you need to adopt a qualified mindset to go after what you want, right? You can't predict the rejection. You can't control the rejection, but you can control how, the impact of that rejection and how qualified you feel to go after what's next.
Well, let's talk about your book a little bit more. I love the concept of it and really just preparing people to go out into the workforce and be prepared for all of the bumps and the road and still feeling qualified and figuring out their mindset and the way they react to life in itself when you're going through a career search or your career journey. Can you tell us a little bit more about your book and some of the main takeaways?
Yeah, the book is to help you realize all the value that you have to offer, how many skills you've built over the last 5 to 7 years and how they're transferable to help you go after what's next. And to just acknowledge that most of us don't feel qualified for that greater challenge that we're applying for, or for that next big project that we're looking ahead to. For me, when I wanted to launch my podcast or write my book, there's that little voice saying, am I really qualified to do this? Mm-hmm. But knowing that you have done it before, you have been there before doing something that you haven't navigated and you've figured it out, and knowing that you can do it again. And that's everything.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It all comes down to mindset. Like you said, a lot of people feel like, oh, I'm just going to graduate college and find this job. And that's not how it goes. And I know for me, coming out of college back in 2003, I had to think about that there for a second. I thought, oh, I'm just going to get a big girl job. And like, it probably took me a year and a half to really find my footing and find a career that made sense for me based on what I went to college for. And now I'm in a completely different career that I did not go to college for. I mean, I studied art history and business because I thought, oh, I really like art history. Maybe I'd like to work in a museum. And I added a business minor because I was like, maybe I should add a business minor onto that.
And that pressure came from our parents, as we both know.
Absolutely. Yeah. I told my dad, I remember I called him, I was like, I'm declaring my major my freshman year in art history. And he was like, what in the world are you going to do with that? And I was like, I don't know. It's just what I'm passionate about right now. But your passions change.
Of course. Yeah. And being open to that change too. And, being open to pivots in your career. And I think that there's this misconception that our majors are going to connect exactly to what we do in our careers. It's more so that you're building up these skills, right? I was an English major and I love telling other English majors, your path is not just, if it's not for you, if you're not like, hey, I want to be a teacher, that's not the only path for English majors. It's just the first thing that people can think of, the first thing that comes to mind. But all of those written and communication skills that you've built in your major, like while in your major, the critical thinking that you've practiced, the analytical skills that you've practiced, that is so transferable. And any career needs great communicators. Any leader will tell you that is the core of leadership. So everything that you've been doing up to this point is transferable. And really what you want to do is figure out how you want to leverage those skills and what do you care about, right? Like what are your passions, but also what do you value? What kind of impact do you want to make? And finding an organization that aligns with it so then you can bring your skills to the table to make that happen.
Yes, absolutely. Hey gang, cutting in real quick to tell you about my favorite meal delivery service, Cooked. They are a Chicago-based meal delivery service, and let me tell you, my family is obsessed. So Cooked offers chef-crafted meals that are cooked simply with only the purest ingredients, and they have 3 different meal types. So they have signature whole food meals, plant-based vegetarian meals, and even better, Whole30 approved meals. They're an official Whole30 approved meal delivery service. And my husband's last round of his Whole30, this was a game changer. It made his Whole30 even easier, and me too, so I wasn't cooking on the meals, and the meals were delicious. We're still ordering them every week within our food freedom. So head over to eatcooked.us and you can use the code EmilyNichols15 to receive 15% off your first order, and then EmilyNichols5 for every order after that to receive 5% off your meals. So go check out eatcooked.us and let me know your favorite cooked meal that you receive. You're gonna love it. Absolutely. Thinking of it this way, Amanda, I have a lot of working moms that listen to the show, and just thinking about my own career and the different pivots I've made as my family has changed, as my passions have changed as well. It was really hard to overcome that mindset, thinking I had to be in a traditional corporate job and I had to do this and fit into this cookie cutter type of job. Or there may be a lot of women listening who are like, I've been at the same job for 10 years. I can't leave. I'm stuck. I have more security staying here and getting a 401k and benefits. What would you say to a woman who's maybe wanting to make a pivot though, but they're scared too?
Yeah, I think that, if there are financial obligations or you're feeling stuck, right, don't just leave everything and go and pursue your passion. Like that's not my message whatsoever. Mm-hmm. But I do think that there are ways to follow your passion in your free time and start a hobby or start a project. If there's a subject that you're interested in exploring, start researching it. Join a group on Meetup where they're talking about that topic. Let's say it's photography, right? So you join this group on Meetup and maybe you're also watching YouTube videos on how to get started as a photographer, and then start blogging about what you're learning. Start practicing this craft and doing this in your free time. Maybe turn it into a side hustle, seeing how you can generate some money with this newfound passion. And from there, you're experimenting and deciding, is this a new path that you want to take? And then you're connecting with other people in that space, which will also provide you with connections and open doors to opportunities.
Yeah, that makes me think of when I had my first child. My oldest son is 13 now. And I left my first job that I had, like my big girl job, like I was saying, because the hours were just really late. And I was like, this is not a very mommy friendly job. I need to find something more traditional hours. And I switched to a job that literally was just sucking the soul right out of me. I just was not happy, but I was like, but I'm able to pick up my son every day. And at the time, I started volunteering for an organization that was close to my heart. And eventually it turned into a job because I made so many great connections there. And honestly, they probably would have never hired me if I had just applied online in the traditional sense and sent in my resume. But they knew me. I still had to go through all the hoops and logistical things with HR for that matter. But I was able to get my foot in the door just by volunteering and knowing the right people. I would definitely recommend someone doing something like that, like you just mentioned.
Yeah, volunteering is a big one. I call it, apply before they're even looking. So be that first person that's top of mind for when there is an opportunity that comes around. And yeah, making those connections with people who are doing something that you think is cool or makes a difference in the way that you want to make a difference. Yeah. And you're going to learn so much from them by, meeting with them every day, having these conversations. And that's what volunteering does. It really does open doors.
Yeah. Well, going back to the subject of working moms, I mean, I've always worked from home. I've worked from home for, almost the past 11 years now. And it has provided me some flexibility to be home when my kids get off the bus or get them to school or go do like a muffins with mom or something like that when we're allowed to go into the schools. But, this past year, I know a lot of other moms started working from home and their kids were home all the time when the pandemic hit. And it's been really hard to shut off work when it's so easy to be plugged in all the time. Regardless if you're a mom or not, I think that there's this elusive thing called balance between your work and your personal life. And I feel like sometimes I had an old boss tell me one time, sometimes work wins, sometimes your family wins, depending on the situation. And that always really stuck with me. And I'm like, well, why can't they both win? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So what's your opinion on that? Like, how can someone really truly unplug from work or unplug from, their personal life when they're at work for that matter as well, and find that elusive balance between work and personal life?
I learned this the hard way by working a full-time job and starting a hobby business. And then, going full-time into my business once I brought on an investor. And I just had the energy and the passion and the drive to just work all the time. And what happened was I ended up hurting my wrists from being on my laptop all the time and like crouched over. And I started to have chronic wrist problems. And so it was a wake-up call for me that I needed more balance in my life. I've always worked virtually in running College Magazine. But actually there were points when College Magazine was struggling, especially when I pivoted from print to online and I went and worked at an ad agency in an office and had to figure out how to find that balance. Even working in an office, when I did leave the office, work can still be on your mind, or there's other projects that are still lingering that you can work on when you get back home. So I think it's just that moment where you decide, how do you want to spend your time? And the pandemic has been a major wake up for a lot of people, a major wake up call. And it's, how do you prioritize your well-being? And you need to draw the line. And if you find yourself, hey, okay, at 5:30, I'm shutting down the computer, but you're still checking your phone, and splitting up your time into what I like to, I've heard it called time confetti from this book called Time Smart that I love. You're not really enjoying that time where you did carve it out for it to be for yourself. So making sure that you are not just turning it off physically from your computer and stepping away from your desk, but that you're turning it off mentally and being present in the now with your family, or focusing on yourself and your well-being. If it's doing yoga, if it's going for a walk with the dog, enjoying the nature around you, making that commitment and priority to yourself. And it's just at some point you need to decide that's a priority. And once you make that decision, then you start creating the habit.
Yeah. Time confetti. I love that. That
I can't take credit for it. I give Ashley Wilhens and the book Time Smart credit. So her book Time Smart. Okay. But I really, that really spoke to me because I know I do that. I create time confetti. I'm like, where did the time go? And it was like, oh, I was scrolling on Instagram. That's where it went. I was texting 5 different people. That's where the time went. Instead of, it used to be like, hey, I'm going to take my paints out and I'm going to, I'm feeling inspired by this like gorgeous tree I saw with, and this actually happened recently. I'm like, I am going to carve out the time to take out my paints.
Nice. Well, I think we get kind of trapped in a way, just speaking from personal experience. I'm like, I'm being more efficient. Like, okay, I'm working. Now I got to go have kid time and do this. Oh, and now I can work a little bit more. Now I have to go make dinner. And now I'm going to work and do this. And then you get to the point where you're just totally burnt out.
Yeah, I just think that it's not humanly capable to work as much as we already do work.
Yes.
And I hear a lot of people who do end up cutting down their hours because of a family obligation. They realize they still get the same amount of work done. And so to me, it's all about the kind of work you're doing in the time you set aside. And I call it, really getting that bulk activity and thinking to yourself, okay, I'm going to spend this hour getting back to everyone on email and focusing on that. And I'm not going to be checking email for the next 3 hours where I'm going to be working, head down in the zone on this other project, whether it's, working on that written project or getting creative and brainstorming for your next content strategy plan, whatever that may be. To me, that's the efficient route. It's not getting in more hours. It's what are you doing in those hours?
Yeah, for sure. Oh, what are you doing in those hours? I love that. I love that so much, Amanda. Well, like I said, most of the women that listen to my show are working moms, but I do have some audience members who are college age girls. Well, just from some volunteering that I've done through some college organizations, doing free workouts and talking about self-care from a college perspective. And it makes me think of, gosh, well, I wish someone would have told me some of the things I'm telling these girls when I was their age and coming out of college, and how to take care of myself and my wellness and my body image for that matter. But what career advice would you give to someone who's maybe a senior in college right now before they head out to start that career?
I would give them the message that they are more qualified than they realize. I know we're all singing that tune, right? I don't have enough experience. I should have double majored. I'm not good enough. And I really want to help young professionals flip the script and see all the ways in which they have value to offer, right? The projects they've worked on, the team, the clubs and the organizations they were part of, the teams they helped lead, even if it was for sports or for working at a summer camp, right? Those skills are transferable, that you do have experiences to speak about, and you do have ideas to come to the table with for whatever career you're looking to go after. And I think that the real secret is to not just go after something on your own, but to look around and see who has that dream career, that career that you think is really interesting, and talk to them. Ask them for 15 minutes of their time, because you're going to discover the blueprint for how they got to where they are.
Yeah, I love that so much. Because I found myself after I graduated college, like, well, I don't have any experience. And if they want experience, if no one gives me the chance, how am I going to get experience? But it's kind of revisiting the things you have done. Like you said, obtaining a college degree, all the applicable skills you learn and doing that, and the dedication it took to do just that is very hard, but being able to express that within a resume, I think is a little challenging too.
Writing a 10-page paper in a day and a half, we all know we've done it, right? Like, that's a skill, okay? That's a talent.
Yeah.
But also knowing that you are able to learn and you are able to take on these challenges, and you've done it before and you can do it again. And then when you do learn the blueprint, you learn from someone on how they built their skill sets, ways they volunteered, courses they may have taken, people that they connected with. And so then you can start taking those steps too.
And those folks who you usually ask, for their blueprint, most of the time they are more than willing to share what they did and be able to mentor and inspire someone else. I know when someone reaches out to me, I'm like, oh yes, I'm very excited to share my knowledge or career advice, or what I did or what I didn't do or wish that I did. Because it's all about helping each other out. But if you're able to mentor a younger woman like that, it's amazing.
It's an honor, and you can't help but feel flattered to be asked. Most people aren't getting asked every day, hey, I really admire the work that you do. Can I talk to you about your career journey? Wow, what an honor to get to share your personal knowledge and help someone. Yeah. And most people are willing to give those 15 minutes and then say, how else can I help? What other ways can I introduce you to someone in this field? I'd be happy to give you feedback on your resume, or you can make those asks of that person if you had a really great connection, because more often than not, that person's going to see a little bit of themselves in you, and they're going to want to help you succeed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's great advice for any age working woman listening today, for sure, Amanda, for sure. So, hey, can you tell everyone where we can connect with you and learn more about what you're doing and support you and your book Qualified?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Yeah, you can add me on LinkedIn. And if you do want some help on how to make courageous connections with people in your field, just shoot me a DM and I will be happy to send you, like, I have an exact script that, has worked for making these connections. And you can check out my book. It's called Qualified. You Are More Impressive Than You Realize. You can get a copy on Amazon. You can go to my website, amandanachman.com, and find the book there. I also have my career challenge there, where you'll get a daily dose of career inspiration. So that's a free challenge that you can sign up for.
That's wonderful. Amanda, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us today. I think we all feel more qualified and equipped to go out into our careers now, for sure.
I hope that's the case. Thank you so much for having me.
Amanda, thank you so much for this conversation. Friend, did you take a lot of notes or have a little food for thought in about your career and setting boundaries? I certainly did today. And like I said, I've had so many friends reevaluating their careers this past year, and you may be in that same boat. So I want to give you my three biggest takeaways to give you a little food for thought, a little perspective, some mindset and action plans in place if you are really wanting to rethink your career and the way you are handling the crazy balancing act of being a working mom. So number one, the mindset aspect. I love how Amanda stresses that you are qualified. So adopt a qualified mindset to really just go after what you want, girl. Okay. So see value in yourself and what you have to offer the world. A lot of times I think we get really stuck in the day-to-day tasks and activities and buried in emails and Zoom calls for our job that we don't really see the value in ourselves anymore. You might not even feel very passionate about your job anymore, but you're not really sure how you can leave. Maybe you have a lot of experience that you didn't even realize you could bring to the table. So I would challenge you to take some time to update your resume, kind of just write out a few bullet points of what you do, some of your biggest accomplishments, and write down some of your biggest skills and achievements over the past couple of years in your career. It's a really great exercise to do to kind of pump yourself up, but it's also a really great exercise to do to be like, man, I'm not really passionate about this job anymore, to take it to step number 2. So step number 2 is the action. Okay, so we got the mindset, right? We're like, I am qualified. Look at all this experience and value I have to bring to the table. So as far as like the action goes, friend, you don't have to get stuck and have to be stuck. Ask for what you want and go for it and be open to that. Okay, like I said before, we get so stuck in these societal norms where we go and we work this job until we retire, until we die, and that's it. I don't know about you, but I'm not working, for life. I'm living for life, right? And if I'm going to be doing some type of work, I want it to be something I'm very passionate about, where I'm serving others and feeling valued in what I am doing. If you're not feeling that way, friend, I suggest you take that really hard step and maybe just start searching for what you want and ask for what you want. Stop playing it safe. That job may have been fine for you 10 years ago, but now 10 years later, your life looks a lot different. You are a lot different. So what do you need to change? If you're working insane hours and you're not able to spend as much time with your kids as you want, what can you do? Go after what you want. Amanda had some really great suggestions of talking to folks that seem to have something that you want, whether it be the career or the work-life balance, or, even just asking your boss, like, hey, can I be a remote worker or a virtual employee? Because so many people are doing that now and realize after the pandemic, like, hey, this is a really great situation because from a boss's perspective, your employees are much happier because they're able to balance that a little bit more. So stop, digging your heels in and thinking that you're stuck where you are the rest of your life, and go for what you want, ask for what you want, actually take some action. Okay. It could be as simple as volunteering at an organization you want to work at. That happened for me, and it got me my job and out of a place I wasn't really happy in. You could talk to someone, like we said, who's already qualified, or just start searching online. I know searching for a new job is like a full-time job in itself, but more than anything, just start talking to people. Just start talking to people. That is your best way in to get out of feeling stuck. And number 3, I really want you to think about losing the guilt that comes with being a working mom. The guilt that you have if you're working too much, taking time away from your kids, or if you feel like you're not getting something done for work because your kids are taking a priority. You have to set boundaries and unplug at work or unplug with family. Is there really a balance? I don't know. I don't like the word balance so much. I feel like there's different buckets that I pour into. I'm filling myself up by using my self-care routine and taking care of myself, but how do I pour into those other buckets depend on each week. Okay. And that's just how I personally see that. My kids are always going to be my priority though, over my job, no matter what. But just be present. Turn it off physically and mentally. Turn your phone on airplane mode if you have to, if you're not expecting any important calls from anyone, or if you need to receive texts from your kids or whatever, if they're out and about with friends. But turn it off physically and mentally. Turn off the notifications. Don't send an email. Don't. If you're with your family, do that. If you are working and your group texts are going off like crazy, turn it on airplane mode as well, so you're able to focus on work if you need to. Okay? I loved the concept of time confetti that Amanda mentioned. I am obsessed with that. I'll be talking about that a little bit more within my Self-Transform You program. I'll also have an upcoming episode about that, but I love the concept of time confetti. Oh my goodness. I'll be reading that book very soon, or actually listening to it because I love a good book. But it's talking about, like confetti. It's like, boo, there's little pieces of confetti everywhere. And say you're, spending 30 minutes with your kids, but you took 2 minutes to send an email. You're responding to a DM. Oh, you had to create this image real quick. And oh, you did that. You're shooting little time here and there, confetti everywhere, where you really need to just dial it in and stop letting it explode everywhere. I love that concept. So turn it off, unplug physically and mentally from work when you need to. Okay? I know it's easier said than done, but the more you do it, habits, it will stick. So Amanda, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your perspective. I really wanted to ask her what she would tell, a person getting ready to graduate college too, because I know I have a lot of charge girls that listen to the show, as well as an organization that I volunteer with doing live workouts and self-care talks. And I wish someone would have told me some of the things that Amanda shared with me when I was graduating college. So I hope if you are one of those listeners, you took a key takeaway from today's episode as well. So gang, I hope you feel a little bit more inspired and a little bit more introspective on where you are in your career, and knowing your value, knowing your worth, and knowing that you are qualified. Love it. All right, gang, I'll see you next week. Hey girl, real quick before you go, if you love today's show and know your girlfriends need to hear this message too, then grab a screenshot, post it to your Instagram stories, and tag me at EmilyNichols22, because the more mamas out there hearing this message, the more empowered we'll all feel to take care of ourselves so we can pour from a full cup. Or the number one way you can thank me for this podcast is to leave a rating and review in iTunes. That way, more mamas will find the show here too. Love you and appreciate you, girlfriends. See you next time.